Looks like our room is filling up. Good afternoon to everybody. We'll get started in just a moment. Thank you for being here. We are going to begin. So my name is John Smith, and I'm the board president of WMBA, and certainly grateful to everyone taking the time to be here this afternoon. And we're going to get right into this because we've got a really packed schedule, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time to hear from everybody and go from there. But again, welcome. And I just wanted to give you a quick update since our last meeting. We had a legislative date and we went to the state capitol, had a great time meeting with some legislators. We met with DFI, also the Secretary of State's office. Wonderful stuff that's going on. Some of the things that were on the docket, that are happening in reference to lien priority bills, the condo liability, affordable housing, taxes, and data privacy, all kinds of things going on. But as representation from the WMBA, we had Don Burton, Andy McDonough was there. We had, and see, I messed up. I didn't have a list of who was there, so I shouldn't even started that one. It was a great time being there with the state representatives and at the Capitol. I just want to say on behalf of WMBA, we have taken a considerable role in leadership with legislative actions that are going on throughout the state. And that's one of the things that your membership here really supports. And we want to thank you for just doing all the things you do and being with us throughout what we accomplish as a group. So that's just a quick update. Moving on to today's program, we want to thank our gold virtual sponsor today, which is CE Forward and Jelaine Shalecki. Thank you very much for supporting us and being a great sponsor of today's event. We might hear from you later on, but thank you very much for your time and being here today. Today's CEO panel, we're going to just jump right into it, and I'm going to make a few quick introductions of our panelists, as well as the moderator for today's event. And our panelists include three wonderful people who are here that are going to support us today. But the first, Bill Bergschneider. He began his career in the title business way back in 1986 at Lawyers. And through lots of mentorship and good things, he's come to this place today where he is the CEO of Rainier Title. And lots of accolades that go along with Bill, but we want to say, Bill, welcome.
Thank you, Connie.
All right. And next we have the CEO, recently taking on that role from president, but now CEO of New American Funding, and that's Patty Arviello. And Patty has been a leader in the industry for more than 40 years and has worked her way up from the bottom rung to where she sits today. She's a great champion for those who are entering homeownership for the first time, those who've been underserved, those communities, and really a great support. I know this organization, and we're glad to have Patty with us. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. And finally, no stranger to our organization, the founder of Evergreen Home Loans and the CEO there, Don Burton. He's a guy who's been around a long time. And I think when he founded his organization, he wanted a group of people who followed through with what they said without surprises. And I know some of the people over at Evergreen, and I can truly be a testament here to say that's exactly what they do at Evergreen. So Don, welcome.
Thank you, John. And Patty and Bill, it's an honor to share the podium, the virtual podium with you.
And the one who's going to lead us in this conversation and sort of moderate us through is Jana Nelson. She's with Homebridge, been in the industry for a long time, more than 20 years in the industry, and she's held lots of roles, gets her a well-rounded person who can talk to lots of things in the mortgage industry. But Jana, we're going to give it to you to lead us on.
Thanks, John. Just want to
echo what John said. We are so excited to have our panelists here today. I'm honored to be able to join you in moderating and having these conversations. And I want to thank everyone who's joined us today as well. Before we start, there's just a note that I wanted to mention that we're going to have you all on mute until the end of the final question, and then we're going to open up to the audience at the end. And at that time, if you have a question, you just need to raise your hand and the administrator will invite you to unmute your line. I'm going to go ahead and start in reverse alphabetical order with Patty, then Dawn, and then Bill. So let's go ahead and get started. It goes without saying that we've experienced some unprecedented challenges in the mortgage business. We have certainly known what the industry commentators are talking about out there, that the market has experienced rising interest rates, limited inventory, inflation impacting housing affordability, decreasing volumes impacting margins. As respected industry leaders, these may not be the answer to your question. So we're curious to know what is keeping you up at night. We'll go ahead with Patty.
I think kind of all the normal things, right? First, my aging teenager keeps me up at night, family. Same like everybody else. First, you're a mom, then you're a wife, and then you're a CEO of a company that is responsible for so many people and lives. So I kind of take it from the mom perspective. But listen, after 42 years in this industry, this is an anticipated correction. And as hard as it is, it's very healthy for our industry as far as being owners of a platform like ours. So, we've been planning for this for a long time. I think the ride, the unicorn years during COVID was very unexpected. And, but even then when it was so great and it was raining loans, we were waiting for the day that the market would turn. So I think being sustainably prepared was a good thing. What's keeping me up at night? Probably the excitement of the growth we're currently having right now and experiencing. So when I'm excited, I can't sleep.
I understand that myself. How about Dawn? What would you answer that with?
Yeah, thanks, Yana. I think in terms of really three things that companies need to focus on in this market, I'd say one is a strong capital base, maintaining a strong capital base. Two is providing your team with a clear plan for success. And I think three would be over communicating your clear plan for success. I really think it's important to let people know you have a plan. And it seems like when times are in shift like today, it's good to be over communicating it because people will tend to fill in the blanks with their imaginations, which can, not always be accurate. You want to be able to provide a good picture of what you see going on. We have a 1,000-year plan at Evergreen. So I like Patty, I would say we've been planning for this for a long time. I think that if I hadn't been planning, then any one of those three things I mentioned could, be something that kept me up at night, but I sleep pretty well.
That's great. I 100% agree with you that if we're not telling the story, then they're making one up. So I think that's really, really valuable. Nice to hear. Bill, would you care to answer the question for us as well?
Be happy to. Thank you. I love what both Patty and Don had to say, and I couldn't agree more. Planning for this is what hopefully everyone's done. We started talking about this in October of 21, saying, okay, guys, get ready. It's coming. The shoe's going to drop. And then it was just a matter of how quickly would someone turn off the faucet, right? Would it be overnight? Would it take a month? Would it take a few weeks? And then recently we've seen other shifts and changes. I think on the mortgage side, more so than the title and escrow side, there's just been such a huge adjustment of raining refis that no one could keep up with, to trying to understand what core business is and how we develop this and continue to make it work. What keeps me up at night, and I'm not the greatest sleeper, but I'm not the worst, stagnation and neutral gear. I think neutral gear is the most dangerous gear in any car. because you're not going forward and backward. You have no control. When I see companies or people, whether they're realtors or lenders or salespeople in my business or any part of our entire industry, when I see them stagnant, and people saying, yeah, I'd love to get busy, but there's just no inventory. What are you doing to create inventory? Yeah, I'd love to do some loans, but I've got no borrowers. What are you doing to find borrowers? That keeps me up at night. That worries me that people are waiting for something to happen economically that none of us can control or environmentally. I think it's about doing something to create action. To Don's point and Patty's point, having a plan. I love what Don said, 1,000-year plan. How brilliant is that? To have thought out where we're going to go so that you're never stagnant.
Gosh, I think that is so critical. And I would love to hear the comments from our audience and further questions. So I'm going to hold on making too many comments in between because I would like to give others a chance to just offer their input. But I think that's something that keeps us all up at night, is what are our people doing to really move forward and not be stagnant? It's a great answer. Okay, so in times of market disruption, often there's opportunity, just as you were mentioning. So besides recruiting, where do you see the greatest opportunities this year, Patty?
I mean, for us personally, we kind of take the Amazon approach. You know, Amazon spent 10 years creating a plan to disrupt Barnes and Noble. So when we have times like this, it's really time for your senior leadership to come together to kind of really strengthen the platform so that when the market does turn, we're prepared to take off. So it's kind of been the secret sauce of our company. We grew, you know, from 100 to 5,000 employees in, you know, a few short years. So all of that came with strategic planning on continuing to sustain our platform and really build for the future of where we think the mortgage industry is going. So really for us, we're all kind of heads down, excited. We just launched a company in India. You know, actually we're doing the ribbon cutting. So NAF India is opening this week. So really just strategically looking and planning for the future, because the market's going to turn. It's just when, right? It's not if, it's just when.
So that would be sort of like technology or products or just
strengthening the band, right? Strengthening, bringing the cost to, you know, to originate a loan down, really fine tuning tech, really refining your cost base is really, I mean, every great accountant can run a great company, right? Really looking at where your dollars are being spent and strategically putting them towards efforts that are going to take you to the future. So that's all we not worry about, but that's all we work on, is really strategically keeping our eye on the ball and making sure that we're not being complacent as a company, because we at NAF actually feel that the industry's changing. You know, the way the buyers want to be served, their self-serving tactics online, the way that distributed retail interacts with an online buyer, the way the online buyer still wants to deal with a local market agent. I mean, everything is strategically looked at so that we are ahead of the ball, ahead of the curve, and ready when those buyers are ready to buy, when there's inventory enough to buy. You know, so yeah, it's kind of the fun part of the down market. So you got to take the good. Yeah, there's a silver lining to every single market. We've done this for so long. People like us have done it for so long that it's being reactionary is where you fail. Planning and strategically planning will keep you in this business forever.
Absolutely. You got to get game ready for the next round.
Yep.
Okay. How about Dawn?
Could you repeat the question for me, Anna?
Sure. In terms of market disruption, often there's opportunity. So besides recruiting, where do you see the greatest opportunities this year?
I think there's tremendous opportunity. First of all, I like to think that reinvesting in our people in terms of providing them with product, tools, reinvesting in the platform in terms of just making it easy for them to access and provide solutions for their customers. I tend to think in terms of also innovation that we can provide. My background before starting Evergreen was in real estate. So I tend to focus on what tools can we provide our real estate partners to help them grow their business. And so we look at innovative products that our loan officers can deliver to our business partners that can help them grow. When I started out and was a loan officer, I would often, I'd done okay in real estate and often got asked to share some of my real estate knowledge with the realtors I was working with. And so similar to that, I try to just help our loan officers to provide tools and products that they can really help double their agent partner's business. That's what I used to always believe I could do. And I like to think that we support our LOs in ways that they can double their business partner's business.
Absolutely. And I think we're seeing people right now, sort of, for lack of a better expression, going back to basics and getting out there, sort of boots on the ground, approaching people and doing some of that education that we had a break from for a while. And I think that's probably fairly critical in just getting yourself seen and recognized and having conversations to keep things going, so we're not becoming stagnant.
Old school is new school, it seems like.
That's right.
The
Absolutely.
old techniques that worked are back.
Mhm. How about Bill?
It's funny, we're aligned on the speaker panel, and I think I can hang out with the cool kids because and after 19 years of title, I decided to become a lender for a couple of years, and I timed it brilliantly. It was 2006.
Nice.
It was a horrible idea. It was in California. It did not go well. I was fortunately invited back into the title and escrow business. So, but I appreciate what everyone here goes through. I think the opportunity lies in education. Old school is the new school, and I agree with that. I also agree very much in technology. I think everyone looks to recruit in these markets. We look to change. We look for the differentiators for our particular brand. I'm in a boring industry. It's title and escrow. Nobody sits at dinner and says, "Oh my God, I had the greatest title last night. I got to tell you all about it." It never happened. If it happens, you're in the title business. But they might talk about their lender, their realtor. So disruption in general, to me, breaks stuff. Look at your old school philosophies. Talk to people that have been doing this a very long time and find out what worked, and then incorporate and educate your people with the incredible amount of new tools out there. Whether it's working with a title company or the companies that lenders have joined with that search out deals, predictive analytics, the information's off the charts. Being that every consumer on the planet puts their life on social media, one can search out and market to somebody that's in a neighborhood that happens to like dogs. Why do we know they like dogs? Because every 3 days they put a picture of their dog on Facebook, and we're all grabbing that data. We've been grabbing it a long time. So I think the time for disruption, for breaking patterns, for sticking with old school philosophies, and definitely work ethic. I think the people in the business right now that work are going to prevail. I saw something on Facebook. You get all this stuff off Facebook. There was a coach of a women's basketball team, and she was on the court shouting at her team saying, "You guys have big league dreams, but you have a backyard work ethic." The people that work and put in their effort every single day, that take the education, that expand upon their knowledge base with tools and everything else, are going to create the greatest opportunities that they've ever seen. Every single recession that any one of us that have been doing this for decades have seen superstars come out of every single recession. Whether you're brand new in the business or you've been doing it forever, these opportunities create the best of what we'll see in the next 10 years.
100%. Absolutely. Thank you. So then let's talk specifics a little bit. Much of our audience for these events is frequently frontline originators. So I think that they would appreciate your thoughts on what 3 things agents and lenders alike can focus on to gain more business when the industry is expected to have less this year. Patty, you're up.
So it comes with the last name A. So yeah, data. I don't think enough of us sit there and study data. I think people think, loan originators think they know where the business is, and they actually don't. So I would have data every single day. Who's listing all the properties? Who's selling all the properties? Oftentimes social media kind of will make us think that certain people are successful in your area, but you come down to data and you find that they've sold 1 home in 6 months. So I think focusing on where the business is being done and who they're doing business with, which you can see in data through tools that are, easily accessible through most of our companies. So yeah, I think if you can see data, you will know where you're going. It's kind of like not having goals and just running around crazy, wondering why you're not getting business. Through data, even when we run big companies, we see a lot. Everything is told through data. So I would think that'd be number one. Number two, it's like a cliche, work harder than the next person. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of times people are like, oh, Patty, you've been doing this so long. Why do you work so hard? Because it's my being. Like, I am still a loan originator. I also too sold homes, Dawn, because we all think that it's like there's more money in the other platform or a different lifestyle, but I sold homes too. I did whatever it took in a market to be that person. I've never been laid off from a mortgage company. I started when I was 16. I always had a job, whether I was shipping, funding, drawing docs, underwriting, processing. You just have to make yourself that person in this industry so that you never spend one day unemployed in the industry. So yeah, data, know where the data, know who the top producers are, know who's doing the business. And I think that'll be really key in creating goals.
So Patty, for those who may not know, where is your favorite place to get for loan officers to get the data?
There's several tools. We use MMI at NAF.
Yep.
Most companies subscribe to some. I don't actually know any other competitors because I only use MMI. But it's really a wonderful tool, and you'd be surprised how many loan officers don't use it.
Yeah.
And MMI's growth they've seen growth through the last year because all of us that are running companies have to know when we're recruiting loan officers too. Like, there's an investment that's made when we're recruiting loan officers. So we dig into the data to find out exactly how much business they're growing, originating, what type of their book of business, what's it look like? Is it FHA? Is it VA? So we're doing it, but loan officers don't use the tool enough, and realtors don't use the tool enough. So yeah, I think it's very, very critical right now to know where the business is, so you don't spend a moment talking to somebody who's not doing business in today's market.
That's great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Dawn, how about you?
Yeah, that was a great answer. I would agree with Patty that the data is really important. I'll try to provide a little an added or go a different direction though, so I don't just continue to talk. I'll add something to that. In addition to data, once you find who's doing the business, I think it's good in this market to kind of create business. And one example, I was chatting with an agent over in Boise last week who was recently on a sales call for us and sharing some of the things that he had done. And he's friends with some of our folks over in that market. He's been very successful. He's a young agent. He's been in the business about 5 years, started his own company in that time. But when his very first month in the business, he wasn't sure how to get started. And somebody in his office said, I think if you held an open house every single day for 30 days, if you held 30 open houses in 30 days, you didn't do any business, then you probably shouldn't be in this business. But he held an open, he literally followed that advice, and he ended up with one sale, one buyer representation that he subsequently sold, and he got 4 other transactions that closed in the next 12 months out of that. So, just going out and I like the cartoon, many of you have probably seen it, with that has the 2 vultures sitting on a wire, and one says, I'm tired of waiting, I'm going to go kill something. That was my when I was in real estate, I had that on my desk because I took, in the last 7 years I was an agent, I took 1 month of floor time, and I thought, I can sure create business faster than sitting here waiting for the phone to ring. So I think by creating it, and you're seeing opportunities, you're going out and seeing a house that maybe somebody else can't sell, you're looking at a buyer, you're helping put people together and qualify with new products. In our case, I'd say we do a lot of that by focusing on unique and niche products that will be innovative in a marketplace and give us tools to begin to talk about transactions that are a little bit outside the box. And it just gets it's a conversation starter. It's a way to begin talking to your business partners about that may prompt them to think of an idea of, oh, gee, well, I came across this situation last week that nobody had an obvious solution for. And then suddenly you've got perhaps an opportunity and opening to introduce a potential solution. But I think creating business, and I think that means seeing business where not just getting your share, but creating business that wasn't there yesterday. So I think that that's hopefully an abundance mindset too.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say that personally, I was talking to a real estate agent just recently, and I was out at an open house with him, and he mentioned to me that he had never had a loan officer come and sit out at an open house with him before. And I was shocked. And I think that same mindset of going out and sort of killing, if we all got out there and went back again old school and we're fighting for, just to get seen and be heard and to have the opportunity to introduce ourselves to people, I think it would make a huge difference in the business that we're doing right now. How about you, Bill? Anything that you would like to add?
Well, I like go old school and go kill something. So I'm going to work that into my business plan. Reaching out to past clients, taking their pulse. I've been a buyer or seller 32 times since I've been buying and selling homes. I move a lot. It shocks me how few times I hear from anybody that I've worked with, whether it's a lender, because I've used various lenders. When you have a niche program, why doesn't everyone you've ever talked to know? And it stuns me. I hear about these great programs that lenders are coming up with. And I'm thinking, wow, I know somebody at that company and they know me. And I thought they knew I was buying a home. Why didn't they call me? So that's a sweet program. Everybody specializes in something. Why aren't we reaching out to our past clients and talking to them? And I think that goes for everybody in the business. I think we can better engage in network activities or community. There's huge community opportunities all the time. What's very cool about the WMBA is look at this community that we're looking at on the screen. Everyone's obviously engaged, caring about their business and what impact it can have. And lastly, I would say to go right along with everything that Patty and Donald said, you have to intelligently farm and prospect. You have to really look and make time. And by intelligently farm, Patty said it, going out and talking to people that don't do any business is a colossal waste of time. It's like a realtor that farms out and sends out 1,000 postcards. If they don't know the turnover rate in that area and how often there's a sweet spot for any neighborhood in turnover, it's between 5 and 8%. Anything below that or over that's not a great target. That's just historical fact, no matter where real estate is in the country. But looking at that intelligently and using the incredible amount of technology and tools to understand who to reach out to, as well as the stupid obvious of reaching back to your prior client list, calling every single one of them, just seeing how they're doing. People are going through a lot of stuff right now. $200 at the grocery store gets you a couple of eggs and some lettuce. So just an interesting time to have a conversation and see who needs help. Everybody needs your help sooner or later.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so this next question, you could look at this either personally or as leaders. You can take it whatever way you want. But Patty, what are you doing to change the world every day?
I've spent 42 years in this insane, awesome career, right? I thought I was going to be a dental hygienist. I've done a lot better in the mortgage industry than I would have being a dental hygienist. But, when you're a little girl and you're thinking you're going to work your whole life, all you used to see was women as dental hygienists, nurses, so I'm really, really making a huge effort to give back to women, and not just in finance, but, I happen to come from a Hispanic household. I'm a Latina. And the emerging demographic shows that Latinas are rising faster than any other demographic in the country, yet we have zero role models except for J-Lo. So I'm really working to put myself out there so that they too know that this dream of, just killing it in this country is for everyone. And so I run a mentorship program quarterly. And it's free, and it's been targeted towards women in mortgage, but now I have a bunch of men in it too. So I give back through mentorship. I bought a Hispanic media company during COVID. So I do a lot of outreach to Latinas through social media. I recently was recognized for, I think it's the second year they've done it, by Forbes as a 50 over 50. So I'm actually off to Abu Dhabi next week to mentor all the Forbes 30 under 30. So I'm just kind of really telling my story. You know, I didn't graduate college. I just fell into this insane career and saw the opportunity and just started to climb that ladder. And I just really want to make sure that everyone sees that opportunity. So it's really significant for me. Like at this point in time in my life, I'm like, okay, I've reached a great amount of success. I have an insane family, insane marriage, but I love to be significant. And so reaching out to other women and helping them see themselves in me and in this industry is really important to me.
Oh, Patty, I love that. I'm just curious, when you say that you mentor these women.
Well, now I started out as a women's mortgage mentorship group about 3 years ago. And I had men in the mortgage industry email me, you know, is this women only? And I'm like, well, it was, but, you know, I think that this business is hard, right? Even as an originator, as a CEO. Now, I know that people don't think us CEOs have issues, right? Or that it's really easy once we get to our spot, but actually we sit here and worry about all of you, right? So we have the same pain points. We have the same worries. Nothing changes because we become CEOs. So I like to be able to share our journeys, the successes, and the times that we failed, because I know that there is no mortgage course I didn't even go to college, but there is no mortgage courses in college. We barely learn about finance in high school. So how is it that like Don and I are running mortgage companies, right? There wasn't a manual. Is because I will tell you, for me, it's because I messed up every loan, right? But I never messed them up twice.
Right.
Right? We hedged the wrong way once, but we never hedged the wrong way twice. So everything in mortgage has been taught by failing. So I try to offer that information to loan originators. I have CEOs of smaller independent mortgage bankers wanting to get as big as us, and they join the mentorship because I'm very open. You know, just because I'm giving them strategy, it takes one person to actually be able to implement strategy and succeed. So I offer everything that I've learned through my mentorship class. You can ask me any question. Where did you get your first warehouse line? Where did you? So I teach, and mostly a lot of women who want to become independent IMBs, you know, so there's an emerging demographic of that too, that one day there will be many more Patty Arviellos in this industry, not just 1 in 100, right? Yep. So that's a goal for me, but yeah, I just every question I will offer in the mentorship course.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Don, how about you?
Well, our vision at Evergreen is to change the world one relationship at a time. And so I like to think that there's such a huge opportunity in today's business environment, and with all the technology, with all that we talked about data earlier, with all the things, the tools that we have available to us today are phenomenal from a technology lens. But I like to look at the second half of our vision sentence, the one relationship at a time part, and really go deep in terms of the people relationships, because I think that if you think about just businesses you interact with every day, you think about who serves you, from work, going to the restaurant, to the coffee shop, to Costco, and you think about perhaps, you know, how you're engaged at each step along the way. I think there's a real opportunity to engage people deeper and more personally. And so we talked about that a little bit earlier in terms of kind of the old school is new school again, in terms of connecting with people. I think that's really true. And I think there's real opportunities. Yes, you want to be targeting the right people. Yes, you want to be leveraging the technology, but I also think there's an opportunity to go deeper in terms of the relationship and really making a connection with people. The second part of the way that we do that is our vision has changed the world one relationship at a time. The mission is the how, which is closing on time and as promised while creating a wow experience. The wow is probably a little overused these days, but I still like it because it's unambiguous. It's not, oh, that was pretty good, or it's, if it's wow, it means, did that person connect with you on a level that you really stopped and said, wow, that person that I've been going into that coffee shop for 5 years, but nobody ever really engaged me like this new person at the front counter. Or just, and it doesn't have to be loud or flashy. It just, again, is going deep. So I think it's the people connection
Absolutely.
is what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, those relationships and the connection is just critical to how we do what we do and do it well. Thank you for that, Don. How about Bill?
Well, Don, thank you for following Patty. I didn't want to follow that. That was pretty powerful, Patty. And I'm a big fan of the wow. I think we need more wow. So, gosh, the question was, what's the gift in the shift? I think
this one is what are you doing to change the world?
Change the world. Thank you. Even better. Spending a whole lot of time just understanding people. I think anyone in our positions, you walk into an office, and if you aren't walking up and spending time saying hello to each and every person that's under your realm, that reports to different people, that report to different people, that eventually report to you, just finding out what's going on with them and talking with them and walking them through. The whole industry is compressed. We have less people than we did before. So I think changing the world is a matter of having hope and showing wow, and greeting people, treating people with that same level of respect that we did when we were just getting out and getting hungry. This is a people business. Everything about what we do touches people's lives. Nothing's greater than buying a home. I think if we could, replicate any experience in our lives, I think everyone on this call would probably think that one of the best experiences, apart from, their marriages and children being born, it's buying that first house. So to celebrate and go back to wow from what Don said, to make sure we're acknowledging that in the right way, what can we do to change the world? It's pretty tough. It's big. But when we touch people and we celebrate at least what we do for a living that does have impact, somebody buys a house, their world's changed. Everything about their financial picture's changed from this point forward. They'll never be the same. When they buy their first investment property, if you've done the 5th loan for that person, I think all this is what we can actually control, engage, and get into, and celebrate better and be better champions of ourselves. People have these strange visions, and times morph from what Patty, you talked about. I just wanted to be what somebody told me I had to be, but look at you now. I'm very familiar with New American, even going back to my California days. These things are great. We have an industry. What I love about our industry and how we've changed the world, 82% of our entire workforce, my company is owned by, now we sold to an even larger company. We have 7,800 people, 82% are women. We have, and I wish I knew the number off the top of my head, but the amount of women we have working for our company in 6 digits, none of which have college education. This is off the chart. We're proud of that. These are things that are changing the world around us. They're changing our world, empowering people to have better lives. So I think my opinion is, we in this industry some of us do a great job of letting everyone know how important we are. And I don't mean that in a braggadocious way. I mean it in an actual impactful way, that we have huge impact on people's lives, and we should be really proud of that. So that's the contribution to the world there.
That's great. Thank you. So then we do get to the number one gift in the shift question. And again, this could be something personal that you individually feel is your gift that you bring to, riding through the changes that we're experiencing, or it could be what you feel like your company is offering. However you want to take it is fine. Patty, go ahead.
This was actually the question I asked you. I don't really get that question. Okay, so my passion has been serving the underserved through home ownership. I started in 1994 when the market was similar to what it was today. All of a sudden, I was a young originator, and I'm like, what happened to all those refis? And my phone ringing off the hook. And I lived next door to one of the largest Hispanic communities in the nation. And I'm like, well, how come people in Santa Ana are still buying homes? And I figured that it was the Latino home buyer who are not rate conscious or price conscious. They are entry conscious. So I just started to go after Hispanic realtors for business, and found what has now been my calling and my passion in this industry is to serve the underserved. So right now, that is what's creating my gift. Underserved buyers right now have very little education on how to enter the home buying process. And so I think my gift right now is giving them tools to enter with like our all cash home buying program that we have at NAF, where we enable a low down payment minority home buyer to go offer cash to win a home. So those are the kind of gifts that I think that I feel really proud of, that we've created out of like whimsical dreams, like what's needed in this market to help people. And when we launched that program a year and a half ago, we didn't think it would have the success that we would have today in a market like this. But certainly when you're a seller and you get an all cash buyer, oftentimes you'll take that before you'll take a financed home buyer. So it has enabled some of our underserved borrowers to get into housing, even in a tight market like today.
Beautifully said. Thank you. Dawn, how about you?
The gift in the shift, well, my team says that I can see around corners, and I pay attention to the signs and don't ignore the data. They think I know what's coming before anyone else does and take steps to be ready for it. I'm not sure I always agree with that, but I will say, speaking, so I talked about innovative products earlier, and Patty, you brought up the cash offer. So we started our cash program in 2019, and we're the first lender in the country to offer a cash product to realtors. I saw companies like Fly Homes and Zillow were paying cash for properties, and we thought, could we help a real estate agent to be able to do this? So we've developed that through our innovative products group, which has since come out with, I think, 5 variations of it to continue to adapt to the changing marketplace. Lower down payments, being able to go non-contingent on when they have a house to sell. Again, various different products. I think that with our company size and scale, we are nimble enough to be able to move quickly in a market. And so I think that gives the opportunity to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves when there's adversity, like a challenging market. There's always great opportunities in a challenging market. So at the same time, we've got capital resources similar to larger companies. And so we can invest in some of these new products. We can invest in a lot of innovative products and having a great platform for our loan officers as well. So I think seeing around corners, being flexible and nimble is probably what my folks would say.
Right. Thank you. And how about Bill?
Yeah, Don's still my superpower. Yeah. Peeking around the corner, I think it's everything that you have to do. Peeking around the corner, but then it's peeking around the corner without losing sight of the playing field, right? Making sure you know what's going on right here, right now. I think it was October, November of 21, we started thinking that, okay, probably about May-ish, we're going to have to start teaching brand new agents how to spell the word contingency. We're going to have to help them understand that inspections and all these things that used to happen back in the good old days are real, and they're actually really important, and we've been doing a disservice. Now it's peeking around other corners. Up in our area in the last few weeks, suddenly Seattle properties are getting multiple offers again. And we're getting back to these other programs that are so important because it's going to be hard for people to move. And how long will that last? Literally 3 weeks ago, you could write a contingent offer without a problem. 2.5 to 3 weeks ago, you were faced with 17 other buyers. If we get some inventory, we might have a market. So we'll have to create it. So if there's any gift in the shift, staying positive, looking forward, peeking around the corner, and really keeping track of what's happening this very moment, but knowing that we need to be ready to jump. The market's going to shift again and again and again until it stabilizes. We could all take bets and pull out our broken crystal balls when that stabilization day is. That'll be a fun bet.
Yes, I agree. Well, I think that we are maybe out of time right now on our questions if we would like to have opportunities for our other guests to ask questions. So maybe what we could do at this point is go ahead and see if anybody has any questions. And if you raise your hand, we can go ahead and unmute you so that you are able to speak.
Hey, Yana, this is John. I do have a couple of questions that are in the chat here. I can tell you what those are. Earlier, there was the discussion, about what we're doing now and some of the old things that have become new. And the question was, what advice would you give to those in the rut, those loan officers that are in a rut? How do they get out of that rut and get things going?
Who wants to take, Patty, do you want us to take that one?
Well, I was kind of put myself in that question shoes, I guess. If I were in a rut, I would do everything to change my mindset. It all starts in mindset. I don't think anybody's really ever in a rut. I think our mind sometimes goes in that direction. Sometimes maybe things become boring. Maybe, can you imagine 42 years in the mortgage industry? You don't think I get in a rut? I think it's very common, but I really do think that working on your mindset, and I know sometimes it's so funny when I tell people, I started to do yoga just to change my mindset. I mean, post-COVID was really difficult for everybody. And I don't take shame in really working on being positive. I am a constant warrior. I'm a really, really emotional leader. And so if I become unstable emotionally, or I become, looking at the glass half empty instead of half full, that's on me. So I think a rut kind of falls in the same thing. You can really work on positive changes around your mindset. And I think that waking up every morning and becoming inspired, doing yoga, talking to a therapist, I know it becomes cliche, but I think everyone should have a therapist. Everybody runs to the doctor when they're sick, but you got to stay healthy. And that includes your mindset. It's our most important asset that we have, right? Outside of our heart that keeps us living is our mindset and our brain and how we feel about things. And listen, being just in this business, like I said, it's extremely stressful. Even if it's good, it's stressful. And I think having a positive outlook on everything is really what will create that shift in your mindset so that there is never a rut. I had a really bad day yesterday. My husband looked at me, he goes, even though today's a really bad day, Patty, our life's really great. And I'm crying. I'm like, you're right. So we all have, right? It's just like, you got to pull the silver linings out of everything. It's mindset, 100% mindset every single day.
Sounds good. I can layer on one more question, then whoever wants to jump in there. But what advice do you have for your loan originators when they're focusing on the realtors who are doing business? That was something we heard, go do business with those doing business. But here's the problem. All the competing loan officers are doing the same thing. I mean, how do you get around that problem?
I could tackle that if, John, that's all right.
Yeah.
I would want to comment, though, if I may, on the last one too, briefly. And Patty, I completely agree with you. I think the mindset is absolutely the foundation. And then I think if and when you get your mindset right, just being proactive and getting out there and talking to as many people. I think that, we've all been kind of locked up in the last couple of years. And the more we get out and talk to people, preferably face-to-face, but even on the telephone or on a Zoom call like this, I think the more people you can interact with, activity begets activity, and it begins getting you going. And then jumping into the realtor question is a little bit of the same thing, except as you said, John, and I think the person in the question there asked, what do you do if everybody's going to try to talk to that same person? I think it's being consistent, for one thing, is just, being regular, calling on them. I remember when I was a real estate agent, that a bunch of people would want to buy me lunch or buy me coffee, but very few of them, and several of them would follow up a second time, but the third time and the fourth time, not a lot of people followed up, and not a lot of people knew how to follow up. It would be following up, providing value, not looking for where's a deal, but coming to me with education, coming to me with ideas, bringing, and I think the same thing is true today. And if you have a niche product or something unique that you can offer, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about that. But I just think the consistency, getting out and talking to people, but being regular, and you'll find that the others will drop off the radar after, your 16th time calling on them, if you make it into a system and a process. So
you got to keep going. Hey, one last question to just throw out there that was on here is, hey, there's a lot of technology out in the world. So what 3 technology tools would you say are prevalent? Anybody can jump on there. I think Bill has got young kids at home. Tell us about it, Bill.
Oh boy, technology. So for us, the 3 tools that we have a farming tool that has predictive analytics for any realtor out there. It can take and digest any particular area, do a hot list to tell you who's most likely to list. You can do the person that programs this thing's off the charts. Is a guy down from California. He's won the Hacker Award 17 times. He won the Programmer Award for his first time ever when he was 12. He might be older than me. I'm 55. I think he's between 55 and 60. Truly unbelievable. But he also, in California, he takes his program and he goes on a walk with a realtor every month and does his walking for him to make sure his predictive analytics work. When he knocks on a door and someone says, "How did you know I wanted to sell my house?" He's pretty sure it works. So I would get together with lenders along with title companies to do that. I think, what our product is to find out who's doing business is MTA. It's similar to MMI, and it has a plugin. We can, everyone can spy on everybody. We can see how much business loan officers and realtors are doing. I think that's imperative. You have to know, and if people don't have access to these things, work with your title companies. They can help you. We'd love to help you. Obviously, there's so many tools if you don't have them. The other tools, some things that haven't even hit yet. We're about to do something with blockchain that's going to turn people's heads. We've been working on it for 3.5 years. It's just about to go live, and things are going to change. So be mindful of what's coming. No one leads the technology race ever. Whatever, right now the hot ticket is ChatGPT. I can never remember the acronym. It's smoking hot. It's doing all these great things, and then it's telling people it's in love with them. So it's a little scary. I don't know, maybe that was the Bing program, but it's powerful. It's a powerful tool that could help people write things and market things. And you can shift and turn these. I would heavily invest time into understanding, what does that do? How am I going to differentiate myself? To go back to the original question, if you're in a rut and you're trying to impress a realtor, there's all the technology. What your job is to be different. There's a painting behind me. In my other life, I was a drummer. I was in LA, and I was never famous, but I played with a lot of famous people and did a lot of cool, fun things. And I was a really good professional drummer, but you put a drum set on the stage, and I'm going to date myself. I go play it and you think, "Oh, that was pretty cool." Then Neil Peart comes out there and you say, "I suck," because he was better. Differentiate yourself. How do you do something better than somebody else? Find out what that is. Find out what your product is. Find out what the technology can tell you, and then go attack it and do it every day. If people don't know that you're in the loan business, if someone walks up to you and says, "Say, are you still doing home loans?" You have failed. You didn't do your job. If someone comes up to me or my reps and says, "Are you still in the title business?" They have not done their jobs.
Yeah. Thank you,
Bill. Oh, just out of curiosity, since we had the question about, everybody and their mother is reaching out to these agents, how many loan officers would you say are utilizing you guys to get databases from your MTA program? I mean, if you had to say, do you feel like everybody and their mother is trying to come at you and get that information, or would you say it's pretty
surprisingly very, very few people?
That's what I would guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there were more. We have so many tools. Maybe we aren't doing the best job telling everybody. Maybe we're telling them too much. We just onboarded somebody new from another big company. She came over. She's for one of the biggest companies, a household name in our business. And she comes over. She says, "Wow, I've never even seen this stuff."
Yeah.
Like, cool.
Well, that's great. That's helpful. That gives us, some walking orders.
Perfect.
Marching orders. Any other questions that are not in the chat? Anybody want to raise their hand?
And Danny, Nicole's on the call with us right now. Nicole Koenig, she's amazing. I would absolutely work with her. Thank you.
Oh,
Perfect,
here we
thank
have
you.
another question. Hi, Danny. Bud wants to know what headwinds are in secondary. I think I'm reading this right. But if you want to come off mute and just ask the question, I'm not sure I'm reading that correctly. What headwinds are?
Yeah, so what's happening in the secondary market? Anybody can jump on that in our last 4 minutes that we have.
Yeah, just as a whole, I know secondary is completely different now for all the companies, and so selling on the secondary market, rates, cost to do business, the amount of money you can make in secondary now is different. So, I mean, all the stuff that just regular LOs like myself don't see day to day. What do you guys see?
That's sure been a roller coaster, that's for sure. I don't run secondary at NAF. Rick does. We have two different strengths. I'm not the secondary person, but I will tell you that, and Dawn, I don't know, I love that your team looks at you maybe as like I see Rick, predicting where the market's going to go and how fast things are going to change. I think that a lot of the headlines that we read, especially the ones we get in the morning from all our mortgage, housing wire and everything, seem very, very grim in comparison to the way Rick sees analytically what's going on in the market, where inflation is, where housing is, where the cost of goods to build homes are. I actually have the privilege of sitting on the 9th largest home builders public company board. And just even in the last couple of months, the market has completely shifted from where it was in November. So I would say that instead of reading some of the narratives that we get, which I think that are somewhat more doomsday, there are some positive things that are going on for people in the real estate market and in the mortgage market, especially with the consolidation that we're seeing coming through the industry, with many independent mortgage companies going out of business and or consolidating. There's going to be more for those that are left. So, we don't quite see as grim as we do. We're thinking market should turn roughly, if we can sit around 5%, we think that we'll even see a little bit of a refi market going on again. But that's just kind of Rick's predictions. I'm being Rick's spokesperson right now. Everybody from NAF knows that's not on my sphere, but I'd probably let Dawn talk a little more about that.
Well, thanks, Patty. I'm not sure I'd prognosticate on where it's going, but I would take a little bit different angle to the question and just say some of the opportunities I think that we see in the volatility would be to look for some of the pain points. Patty's right, and I think it's great that you're involved with a builder. Builders right now don't have to compete with all the listings on the market. There's not as much resale as we were just talking about, the limited market. So they sort of are getting a better, what should I say? They're having a better experience in this difficult market than they might have had there been a lot of inventory on the market. They would have had a lot more to compete with. So builders are able to sell their inventory. But where is some of the pain? And I like to think, who's feeling challenged and who feels pain? Well, your real estate agents feel pain, as well as sometimes your customers who can't find enough properties. And if you can help solve that problem, then I think you can, there's opportunity there as well. So it has, we have seen a lot of volatility in the last year or two. I'm not sure that's gonna stop. I would say also though that when it settles down, as it kind of did a month ago for a while, or the last couple of months, I think we see a lot more people willing to stick their toe in the water. It seems like it's the volatility that scares people out of the market, and they can get used to a higher rate. They can get, as long as it's stabilizes. So I think every time it stabilizes, you see people jump back into the market. So,
Well, thank you all. We are at time, but I do want to say to Bill, Patty, and Don, we really thank you and appreciate you for being here with us today. That's a lot of rich information for us to chew on. And Yana, for moderating the whole event, we appreciate it. And finally, we do want to say, if you've got some needs for continuing education, you know there are loan officers out there who need to satisfy those requirements. Jolene Schlicke and CE Forward can help you with that. Please take time to look them up and serve up what they can, or they'll serve up what they need to you. So we thank you, and hopefully everyone has a great time today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.